Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike Green. I'm one of the owners of 1A Auto. I want to help you save time and money repairing and maintaining your vehicle. I'm going to use my 20+ years experience restoring and repairing cars and trucks like this to show you the correct way to install parts from 1AAuto.com. The right parts installed correctly. That's going to save you time and money. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
In this video, we're going to replace the idler arm on this 96 Tahoe. This is a four-wheel drive truck, so it's the same as any 88 to 98 GM truck and 92 to 2000 SUV. Tools you'll need are various millimeter sockets, joint fork and hammer, a tie rod or an idler arm puller, a torque wrench, telescoping magnet, and an 18mm wrench. Okay, so first using a 19mm wrench or your tire iron, remove your front. And now using a 15mm wrench, remove this front shield. And then we're zooming in here, and this is a 24mm bolt that holds the idler arm onto the steering linkage. Now we're going to use a joint fork we're just going to put that right in between the joint where the idler arm and the steering linkage is. Zoom out here, and then just use a good size hammer, and you just force that fork right in between the joint and separate that joint. Okay, now the idler arm assembly is held on by 3 bolts. You can see the back side of them there, and you get to them through the frame through access holes right there. You can see my wrench is through one, and then the other 2 are right near them. Okay, so now we'll speed up going through and removing those 3 bolts. Note, have a telescoping magnet available for when you drop those bolts into the frame, as I do a couple times. Okay, and now what I'm doing here is pulling the idler assembly away from the frame, and at the same time with the other hand pushing the idler arm up and away from the steering linkage, or actually pulling the steering linkage down, and eventually it comes loose enough and comes right out.
It's a 24mm. So now you want to use this puller, and this has a rubber gasket here. So you pretty much just have to force it into your puller. Okay. That pulls that right off. My new one, right back in its place. The trouble you'll run into is when you're trying to put this back together. This should be like that. Okay, these 2 go to the back. Okay. So when you try and put this back together, this is a lock nut, and it'll end up turning this shaft. So what I'm doing is I got a big old bolt just from another project, and I put that on there. And what happens is this will go on enough, and then when I hit that other nut, it'll start pressing this onto the shaft. So then I can use the arm itself to hold the shaft. Okay, now I'll put my lock nut back on. Using a magnet, I took out my other 2 bolts, so I'm going to have that top one in. I'm going to use a extension and hold that bolt in place. The assembly up in here. Okay, and then hang it on that bolt.
Okay, and now I will put the nut up on that bolt and then basically repeat the step for the 2 bolts, put them right into my extension with my socket, feed them through, see the bolt come through, put it onto the assembly, and put the nut back on, and then same thing with the 3rd one. Feed it through, see the back of my head, and then put the nut on. And then before I tighten those up, I'll turn my attention over to the steering gear. Okay, so here I pull the steering gear down and onto the joint for the idler arm, and then just put the nut on hand tight. And now I'll go back to tightening up those 3.
Now you can go tighten up your other 3 bolts. You have them snug, and you want to use a torque wrench and tighten them up to 80 foot-pounds. This is 22 millimeters, so you're going to tighten this up to 80 foot-pounds as well. And then just a little tighter so we can fit that cotter pin through.
Okay, and now we'll put a grease gun in there and make sure we hit that grease fitting to get it properly lubed up. And put your shield back on here real quick with the 4 15mm bolts. Okay, we're here. We're just going to put the little pin back into the harness that was holding our airbag sensor there. And now we'll speed up putting the tire back on. Put on the lug nuts, tighten them a little bit, then lower the car down and torque them to about 120 to 140 foot-pounds, and then put your cap back on. We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.1aauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.